And now, the LSU Football Fix with Preston Guy, presented by TigerBait, starts now.
And welcome in to your final LSU Football Fix of the 2025 season, presented by Celebrity Theaters. Join with me as always each and every Monday night at 8 p.m. on the TigerBait Facebook and YouTube channel is Zack Nagy of LSU Country on Sports Illustrated. Zack, how's it going, man?
Doing good, man. We are finally kind of starting to see things slow down a little bit. A pretty crazy stretch of these last 2 to 3 months, obviously Lane Kiffin, portal season, etc. So starting to see things slow down a little bit. Which is much needed for us because we know that it's been a pretty crazy stretch for LSU fans and, of course, other people that cover the team.
You know, I was thinking about my thoughts on this season, and certainly coming into this season, I think me, you, Van Lathan, all that, we definitely thought it would be a crazy year, so to speak. I don't think we thought it'd be crazy in the way we thought it was going to be. We thought it was going to be a pretty good football team, and we thought we were going to be having a lot of thoughts on, you know, playoff run and all that. And boy, it was anything but. Went the opposite direction, went south fast, and got exciting fast. In fact, I would argue that the views and attention for all shows around LSU since Brian Kelly has gotten fired have exploded. In fact, I'd say interest in the program was kind of dwindling there for a bit as the team looked mediocre. Particularly this offense was just so difficult to watch this year. It was a tough team to watch this year. So look, some housekeeping items before I go into the agenda tonight. Tonight is our last show of the year. I will, and I'm going to go ahead and make this announcement. I'm going to be doing a weekly show of some sort during this off season. All right. We're still working out logistics on that. It's likely going to be a shorter abbreviated show. And I am going to touch on other sports. So a lot of y'all have, asked about, whether or not I will ever cover baseball, basketball, that kind of stuff. Yeah, I'm going to do a little bit of that. Every show I do is always going to cover on football. So y'all don't have to worry about that. But we're going to take a week off or so. And while I work out logistics, big part of this is lining up sponsors who want to be a part of it, lining up what time to do the show. Is Monday at 8 p.m. still the best? Is live show format still the best? Is maybe pre-recorded the best? We're ironing all those details out right now, but I'm going to be doing something this off season. Guys, heads up. If you're interested in sponsoring the podcast with your business or whatever you have to promote, let me know. Now's the best time. The way these shows work, we have to do some pretty low introductory rates when we roll out a show. And then as we get more and more sponsors and the show becomes more established and we have less ad spots available, for the most part, this show, this season, every ad spot was taken up for the most part. Obviously, those last few spots, the rates are going to go up. So if you're ever looking to get locked in at a low rate, hit me up now for this off-season show. We'll gladly promote your business. All of our TigerBait partners have had excellent results, good PR, good business. That's why most of them stick around for so long. Let's see here. Guys, please hit like and follow on the channel tonight. And if you enjoy the show, hit that share button to get us out there. Let's get a quick rundown of what we're going to discuss tonight, because it's a quick rundown. I mean, I would say it's bigger topics we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about Jordan Seaton and his commitment. He, of course, came in the fold Friday night, and that was just the cherry on top to a colossal pull for this LSU class. We're going to break down whether or not this might be the best portal haul of any team ever in this portal. Remember, we're only talking about a 3-4 year window, right? So it could be the best ever. And then Zack and I are going to do something that is going to put us at risk of looking really stupid. We're going to take a crack at the starting 22. Zack, you excited about that one? How confident are you in your starting 22 here as of the January 26, 2026?
Yeah, it's one of those kind of like way too early looks. And I put out a depth chart a couple of days ago, just kind of
did you?
grasp to see how it was looking. And honestly, man, we could sit back here and say that we could look foolish come August or September, but I don't think so. I think a lot of these spots are pretty self-explanatory. There'll be some surprise for the most part at a couple of different units, but this is a deep team, man, especially on offense. This wide receiving core is pretty crazy. So that's where we'll probably be a little bit lost is, maybe one or two guys were off, but man, they're going to throw in so many different wide receivers there. Lane loves to rotate his receivers in and out. So that might be where we look a little bit off. But other than that, man, defense is kind of self-explanatory. Offense is a little bit tricky, but I think we'll look pretty good here. I'm not too worried.
I've got a few of the positions that I think are at risk of making us look dumb highlighted. I'll let you know. I'm going to pencil. I'm going chalky, just so everybody's aware. There were a couple bold predictions, like spoiler alert. Maybe there's a bold prediction that Lamar Brown could work his way as a starting offensive lineman early in. That'd be very bold to predict that, but I wouldn't bet against it either. You see what I'm saying? I'm not going to make these bold declarations on January 2026. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not. It's a real good way to make yourself look dumb. Exactly. At least when you're going chalk, it's like, well, this was an unexpected move. I'm not going to make the prediction for the unexpected move this early. It's just ridiculous. But we'll discuss. I will throw out these bold moves are a possibility, like the Lamar Brown one I just mentioned, but we'll chop it up. We'll have a little bit of fun with it. So before I dive in too deep, let me get a little bit of sponsor love here. I was just talking about getting y'all to be my next sponsor of the off-season show. Let's show some love to our current sponsors. Like my first sponsor of this show, Celebrity Theaters, guys. They were the first one on board. They have, like I was mentioning, great rates for them because they put their faith in us earliest. Guys, this is Louisiana's only locally owned and operated theater. Because they're locally owned and operated, there's a few things you're always going to be guaranteed to see. A clean facility, better pricing, superior customer service, state-of-the-art technology. Baton Rouge Locations has an invigorating arcade with over 50 games, making it the largest in town. Has a bar featuring wine, beer, and frozen drinks, oversized leather reclining seats, and the Dolby Atmos 3D sound system. It is the largest in town. They have locations in Baton Rouge and Ruston. And guys, don't forget their weekly specials. They've got Mondays, Senior Savings Day, Bargain Tuesdays. They've got half-price arcades and college night on Wednesday and Thirsty Thursdays at the Baton Rouge location. Guys, they host private events, corporate event, arcade party, kid's birthday party, whatever it is. Don't cook, don't clean. Let Celebrity take care of it for you. Events at celebritytheaters.com to get started. All right. First topic at hand. Well, I'll tell you what, before we dive into that comment, let's get to some, dive into that content. Let's get to some comments. Oops, I accidentally put the BAM up. See, a comment. I know, I can't put, imagine first comment on the screen goes up as Roll Tide. How about that? What happens is I'm clicking a comment, and as I'm clicking in it, a comment comes up, it slides up. Anyways, Big Train Kiffin in the comments early, so I don't get fined. Hit like Big Mike. Let's go. Roback Nagy, you love to see it, dude. You and your Robacks, man, dude. Your mother-in-law to be must really love you. That's all I got to say. Because that woman,
she always hooks me up with so much stuff.
Small fortune that woman has invested in Roback gear for you. But I mean, does she have a connection? Is there like some sort of like she's like just a sales rep for him or something? No,
just love.
Seton needs a lot of work. Colorado coaching was trash. Look. Particularly in the run game, I've seen some Pro Football Focus grades. I've seen some film on that makes it a little concerning, but he is by far your best offensive lineman. Like, this is a colossal upgrade for LSU, and hopefully Coach Wolf and Coach Craig and all those guys are ready to whip them into shape. I mean, because I understand LSU's offensive line last year was very poorly coached, and a lot of the coaching, like the play calling, really wasn't favorable for the offensive line. It's like they were relying too much on screens and all that jazz, and they weren't really opening things up, especially early on in the game when I've been talking to some people about early in the game. You want to, while those defensive linemen are hot to trot and antsy, you want to really do some different quick ball things. Carl Dunn, good evening, guys. Great to have the Portal Kids ads, but got to deliver results. Kiffin has been here before with great Portal ads. I'll say this. LSU won the offseason last year, didn't they, Zach?
I was going to say that too, man. Like, we've been here before. Like, we've seen this story. It's about development. It's the way you were saying a second ago, man, about the offensive line. Like, there are players that are going to need to develop, Jordan Seton being one of them. I mean, he's elite in pass pro, but taking that next step, of course, in the run game is something that's important. And then now you bring in these just fresh newcomers. It's about getting them to the next level. one thing that I've always loved about Lane Kiffin is the ability to evaluate and develop his players. So we've seen a lot of newcomers come in, a lot of guys that are going to need some work, but I trust Lane Kiffin and this offensive staff. Defensively, I have all the kind of trust in the world with Blake Baker. So, yeah, there's a lot of work that needs to be done here, but that's what spring camp's for coming up.
You got to get to work. You got to win the football games. I'll say this. Brian Kelly was a coach whose entire career was not based on working the portal, but rather, developing guys out of high school. And he was a coach who had to adapt to that and wasn't adapting very well. So last year, that should have been a little bit of a red flag to us. I guess it wasn't a red flag because in 2022, he did a pretty damn good job of putting together a team we thought from scratch, but they only took 15 portal additions. This year they're taking 42 portal additions. It's unbelievable. But Lane Kiffin's been working in the portal for 5 years now. He has been, he's very comfortable in this zone of bringing in a lot of new people. And he's also talked about how it's important to bring back leaders when you have so many new faces. That's why he talked so much about bringing Whit Weeks back and why that was so important. So I would anticipate that these learning curves, I'm not going to say they won't exist, but like this coaching staff has been there, done that, if that makes sense. Let's see here. Any early feedback on the new strength and conditioning coach? I'm looking forward to the Aggie game with max physicality. All right. I'm going to reiterate a take on strength and conditioning that I uttered 4 years ago. Mike Scarborough made fun of me for this one. A lot of people made fun of me for this one. And I said, guys, here's the thing about a strength and conditioning program. It really takes a couple years to see how it's doing. That's my opinion. Okay. And then 2022 happened. Everybody said, oh, look how beef John Emery Jr. got in one off season. Look at the offensive linemen, what they're doing. Okay. And then as the years went by, those questions really started to get bigger and bigger about your strength and conditioning program, to the point where by the time Brian Kelly was fired and we saw, by the way, it was Moffitt who sent Brian Kelly to his grave. By the time that came around, look, people were ready to send a U-Haul to Jake Flint's house. Okay. That's my point, is what really matters with strength and conditioning is what does that gangly 18-year-old freshman look like when he's a fourth and fifth year senior, right? And I would say that, okay, Will Campbell, Emory Jones, they looked excellent coming into LSU. And there was certainly, I would say you probably would have liked to see a little more development from them physically after 3 full years. Because in 2024, when you had a first rounder and a second rounder on your offensive line, you couldn't run the damn ball to save your life, right? So, Zach, you can roast me on this like my other co-hosts roast me on this take, or you think it is a year's thing?
No, I don't think it's the worst take in the world. I mean, it completely makes sense where you want to obviously see the full product and the full body of work from freshman to senior, freshman to late junior, whatever it is.
Yeah.
I do think that a lot of these guys, I mean, come on, man, we were 18, 19 years old at one time too. And
right.
How much kind of strength and size you can put on in the blink of an eye. So I'm not going to sit back and say, hey, it's going to take X amount of time to put on weight. I mean, we saw Harlan Berry put on 10 to 15 pounds. DJ Pickett put on 15, 20 pounds. I mean, they can do it overnight.
Yeah.
But size isn't everything. You have to be able to be well-conditioned as well. That's why it's the same thing. So it'll take some time. I think you got a point there. But obviously there's some guys on this roster that need to put on some size pretty quickly. We've seen that in the last couple of months. And so I'm intrigued to see how it kind of goes with Nick Savage as the new strength and conditioning coach. They went in and brought another assistant strength and conditioning coach last week as well. So they're investing in that product. And I think it's going to be really fun to watch kind of how these players go from spring camp right now to the beginning of fall camp in August as well. It's going to be really fun to watch.
Can I cite the best example of a poor strength and conditioning program? Caleb Jackson. Okay, we're talking about a kid who comes in chiseled at 205, a track star, a kid who runs a sub 11 100-meter dash, like very fast kid. And in high school, by the way, he was a burner. Like he would run you over, but he had that breakaway speed. And just something about him, he just was not taking that next step. Now, I understand that it could be on the individual level, but that's just a great example of a kid who was not bulking up and speeding up very well. Let's see. Torque Lewis, loving Wolford and Craig. I'll say this. Wolford, I had some concerns about. I understand he's a Saban hire. I understand what that means. Craig was a guy I would have been ecstatic if Craig came in as the full-time O-line coach. And here he is as a not only he's like your assistant O-line coach. So that's a great duo right there. It makes me feel a lot more confident. Good morning. Okay, let's shift gears here and get to the content we got prepared. We're going to talk about this 56-man haul that LSU brought in, which, by the way, I think it's actually a little bit more. I think it's like 58. There's a couple guys who in like the 2-4-7 system don't have accounts or whatever. But this is in terms of overall score, meaning your transfer portal class and the players you're bringing in from high school, highest rated overall class of all time. That's according to their score there. And of course, On3 doesn't offer a comparable service because their portals like net out who leaves, right? So we're just talking about what's coming in. So it's a pretty lofty number there. Zach, is there an actual argument that this could be the most talent coming in an offseason for any team ever?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the numbers, dude, what is it? 9 top 100 guys coming in, 4 top 50 receivers, multiple immediate impact players, and that's just straight from the transfer portal. 3 of those guys being in the top 5 at their position, being Sam Levitt, of course, Jordan Seaton, and Prince Umanmielen. I mean, dude, you went in and crushed the portal and got positions of need, but also went and built depth in a bunch of different spots too. So to say that this isn't one of the best ever would be a lie. I think that this is arguably one of the best ever from a transfer portal perspective. And then you look at what they did at the high school ranks, man. Lane Kiffin got to Baton Rouge on a Sunday and only had a couple of days to kind of recoup and get ready to assemble a 2026 recruiting class and kind of put the finishing touches on it. He did just that. You lock in Lamar Brown, the number 1 player in the country, Richard Anderson, a 5-star defensive lineman, Deuce Gerald, a top 5 defensive lineman. Your trenches are set for the foreseeable future with a ton of talent. Got some wide receivers, of course, with Jabari Mack, Braden Allen, and Corey Barber. Man, it's hard to not sit back and say that it's not one of the best kind of overhauls in a really long time. 58 players is what we're kind of sitting here saying that they'll have from a newcomer perspective. They dominated. And this roster has a ton of depth, a ton of star power. It's hard I know we're not going to talk expectations right now, but, man, I'll tell you what, it's hard to not be excited about what Lane Kiffin's building right now from a roster perspective.
Well, if we just want to touch on expectations, I'll say my expectation is they are contenders. I don't really want to quantify that into wins or losses. Particularly, it's a tough schedule. I need to see how this team looks. Is it cohesive in spring ball and all that? But which, by the way, we're probably not going to see your starting quarterback in spring ball, so that's a factor as well. But then how are the other teams looking? You know, I haven't had time to study everybody else's roster as well. Here's an interesting tidbit about this roster coming into the season. Zach, if you had to guess how many players were ranked number 1 at their position, either coming out of high school or coming out of the portal, how many would you guess are on roster that were ranked number 1, not 5-star, number 1?
I know. I think it was 8, wasn't
9.
it? 9. It's ridiculous, dude.
That is a ridiculous number. Let's go through it. They got the number 1 quarterback out of the portal, Sam Levitt. They got the number 1 offensive tackle out of the portal. That's Jordan Seaton. They got the number 1 edge rusher. That's Prince Real. Say his last name.
Umanmielen.
That's that guy, right? By the way, in football, if you talk to any NFL executive, the 3 most valuable positions in football are the quarterback, the guy protecting the quarterback, and the guy sacking the quarterback, right? That's the 3 biggest investments on a football team, unless you got the number 1 at each one of those position groups. Out of high school, you brought in the number 1 athlete and number 1 overall player, Lamar Brown, number 1 defensive tackle, Richard Anderson. That's just the guys you're bringing in this season. 5 guys ranked number 1 at their position. 2025, you brought in the number 1 running back in the country, Harlem Berry. You brought in the number 1 cornerback in the country, that's DJ Pickett. 2025, now this is a little bit fluffing this metric. This might be where you got 8 from. Jordan Ross, who was a transfer portal commitment out of high school, was the number 1 edge rusher. He dropped off a good bit because he hasn't quite lived up to that expectation at Tennessee. It might be why he's looking for a new environment here, but he was out of high school the number one edge rusher. And then you throw in Trades Green as the number one tight end. By the way, this doesn't include a few players who were like number two at their position, like Dom McKinley, who was number two at his position. There's quite a few other 5-stars on this roster. I just found that to be an interesting metric. There were 9 players rated number one at their position coming out of high school. So the talent is definitely there, whether it's cohesive, whether it's well coached, whether the scheme fits their talents, we'll have yet to see. But just from an observational standpoint, I mean, good spot there, huh? I mean, that's insane, right?
I've always said this. I've always said, like, Lane Kiffin, and I know a lot of people don't want to hear anything about Ole Miss. That's fine. I understand it. But we've always seen Lane Kiffin do a lot with a little at Ole Miss. Whether Ole Miss fans like it or not, you got to give kudos to Kiffin and his coaching staff for being able to, evaluate players. Guys who weren't necessarily the most highest rated guys in the country, come in, recruit them, and get them to Oxford, and then develop them. That's something that coaching staff and that entire program has done extremely well. So you got to give Ole Miss their credit there because they've done a fantastic job in that regard. Now, Lane Kiffin and this entire staff has all the resources in the world, all the talent in the world. Can they continue to develop them? And if so, that's where we sit back and just get super intrigued about the potential. And I know we're not going to sit here and give them these lofty expectations right now, but if you can't sit back and say that this team isn't a contender in 2026, it's hard for me to just agree with that because I think that this team is undoubtedly going to contend this season.
Yeah.
All the talent, all the coaching, and of course you got to develop these players. It's hard to not sit back and say, man, they're in just an incredible spot right now in Baton Rouge.
One thing I'll point out about being a contender this year. First off, I'm really hoping the playoff committee starts giving more slack to the SEC for playing crazy, for adding that extra conference game, basically, right? Now, I'm not talking about teams that like lose to Kentucky on the road or something like that, right? Like what Ole Miss was in 2024, where they were just objectively.
Look at an LSU schedule, dude. Like, look at the back half. You have
right. But my point is, you could be like what, a top 7 team. And it's very possible that you're 9-3 on this schedule.
No doubt.
It's unbelievable. Now, Ole Miss is going to be very good. Texas A&M is going to be very good. Alabama is going to be very good in Texas. Those are teams that I expect to be top 10 teams, right? Then you layer in at Knoxville, Tennessee. That's going to be tough. Auburn. That's going to be a tricky one. Are they going to be greatly improved? I think it's going to take Golish a little bit of time, but he is bringing back his quarterback and guys from USF, so they should at least be tough. You know what I mean? Clemson, there's a lot of tough games on this schedule, but I think there's 4 games that are going to come against top 10 teams, right? And ostensibly, if you're the 11th best team in the country, it's very possible that 8-4 is on the table. So that's why I'm shying away from talking about win-loss right now until I do more studying of other teams and how this team looks. But I'm just going to tell you, this roster is one that can contend. And I think this will be the type of team can beat anybody. Will beat anybody? Can beat. I'm going to get to a quick comment here that's off topic, but very pertinent to discuss. I just need NFL teams to leave my OC away. They're, of course, talking about Charlie Weiss Jr., whose dad really, he made his way as an NFL OC himself before taking over at Notre Dame, but, a big NFL guy there. But Chris Lowe today of On3 Sports reporting that he spoke with sources and Charlie Weiss is committed to LSU. He turned down the Philadelphia Eagles and look, correct me if I'm wrong, but Philadelphia Eagles, that would have to be the best OC job in the NFL right now, right? You got Jalen Hurts and that offensive line that's stacked. You got Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Smitty. That's a stacked offense right there, right? Maybe Buffalo's OC job would be better. I don't know, but
he was linked there, Preston. He was linked, obviously, like you said, to the Eagles. But a couple weeks back, there was a rumor mill about the New York Giants too, and a potential.
Yeah, that one would make a lot of sense. But I think
of course, that make a ton of sense to me as well. But like you said today, Chris Lowe came out and kind of made a statement saying, "Hey, he's committed.
Yeah,
Charlie Weiss is committed to what Lane Kiffin's building and committed to the LSU Tigers." So yeah, it's a really good comment. Obviously, this is a guy who's one of the most coveted OCs in the country, whether it's the college ranks or the NFL ranks. He's committed to what Lane Kiffin's building at LSU, and it speaks volumes to the program. And obviously, man, they're making him the highest paid OC in the SEC.
Right.
And there's a stipulation in his contract that says if another OC gets paid more than him, they have to match it. So he's always going to sit back and be the highest paid OC in the SEC while he's with LSU. So they're going to pay him accordingly. This is a guy that you got to have on this staff in Baton Rouge.
Yeah, and look, ultimately, I have no inside scoop as to whether or not he wants to be in the NFL or not. I will say this: if he really desperately wanted to go to the NFL, he would have already gone already, right? So I don't think it's that strong of a desire. Maybe it's in his future, but obviously the opportunity has already presented itself, and he said no to a very attractive coordinator position. I have no idea what his future is. I will say this. If he were to leave, I still have confidence in this offense's ability to move the ball. I just think with Lane Kiffin as your head coach, you're just never going to have to worry about if your offense is horrid or not, right? He will put together a great offense no matter what. He has a long track record of proving that to be the case. I mean, that goes back to literally like his first coordinating jobs at USC back in the day, like with Reggie Bush and Matt Leinart. Y'all remember those offenses? They were pretty good.
Did you see what Nick Saban said this week about how like Lane Kiffin kind of changed his philosophy? Not necessarily on football.
Well, was that Lane Kiffin changing his philosophy? Or was that Nick Saban? Lane Kiffin made Nick Saban change his philosophy. Yeah. Yes, I did say that. Go ahead and expand upon that, though.
Yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, just talking about how Lane Kiffin can kind of change a coach's mind, where you put points on the board, man. This is a guy who can go out and run up the score with his offensive mind. I mean, he's a mastermind in that regard. And obviously, Nick Saban was one of the guys who helped jumpstart his career in a way, just kind of get it back on track. And that's why they have a lot of respect for each other. And ultimately, one of the reasons why Lane Kiffin made his way to LSU, because Nick Saban said it's the best job in America. So I thought that was a really nice little tidbit from Nick Saban, just giving him his flowers, but also saying that, hey, he's going to be fine no matter where he's at, whether it's Charlie Weiss Jr. with him, no matter what it is. Lane Kiffin's always going to have just a built different offense.
Right. I think Charlie Weiss Jr. is your best bet, right? Yeah. I think that's your best bet to have the best possible offense, but at the end of the day, I'm going to have confidence. You know, as long as Lane Kiffin is your head ball coach, your offense is moving the ball well. Tying back to whether this is best class ever, obviously what they actually do on the field will prove that.
Right.
You know, Cam Newton was a pretty good ad as a JUCO guy. Then when he won it all and helped that Auburn team do what it did, it turned out that was one of the best offseason additions like ever. Okay.
Right.
Particularly for a one and done player. But in terms of the score itself, you know, it is the highest mathematically rated class that 247 has ever put out, 355.44. That is for overall. That's portal, and that's portal and high school talent there. A lot of people are quick to point out a couple things. Oh, well, they added 57 commitments. That's being fluffed up. I will say this, according to their own class calculator, only the top 37 players in the class are even contributing positive score, right? Beyond that, literally the next 20 players are all +0. You could remove all 20 of them and your score is going to stay the same. That's because it's kind of geared toward your top end players. They kind of make it.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I don't have that as an official statement. I'm literally just citing their class calculator tool that they're using there, right?
Do you have who's second by any chance?
Texas? Hold up. I have it pulled up. No, I don't. Let's see here.
Okay, no worries.
Texas
I didn't go with that, honestly. I didn't realize it was like, I didn't know if they were first by a wide margin or if it was tight with somebody else.
All right, so here's the deal. The portal class is first by a wide margin for LSU. It's not even, it's like Ole Miss is number 2, and it's like the difference between LSU and Ole Miss's class for the portal alone would rank like the 35th best class in the country, the difference between them. So yes, in terms of the portal class itself, LSU wins in a landslide, okay? The overall talent, LSU edges out Texas by about 7 points. It's 355 to 348. That's what I was wondering. Yeah, so Texas also had a really good high school class as well. I will also point this out. A lot of people are quick to point out that, well, the average is lower for the average player brought in, blah, blah, blah. Again, remember, it's your top 37 that are producing that score, okay? So here's the thing about the average number, okay? 10 plus 10 plus 1 is going to equal 21. Divide that by 3. Your average player is going to be a 7, right? Well, now let's look at 8 plus 8 is going to be 16 divided by 2. Your average player is going to be 8. So does that mean the players brought in with the 2 8s were no. What the 2 10s are still more talent. Team A still had more talent there. It's just you added additional players because you needed starters and depth, and that score got brought down a little bit. So just some points to understand the mathematics of this score, guys. Ultimately, to wrap up the discussion, we've talked about 9 players rated number 1 at their position at some point in their career. Talked about the highest all-time rated score. We talked about the averages. I think there's a very strong argument that just judging from the offseason, not judging from what actually appeared on the field come fall, but judging from the offseason, there's a very strong argument this could be the most talent ever brought in one offseason. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, Zach and I are going to break it down and discuss who we expect to be the starting 22. Again, please nobody clip this and use this as fuel against us. This is a tough thing. Zach doesn't think it's that tough. I think it's really tough to predict in January who's going to be your starters come August, but we'll see. We will see. In all fairness, there's a few toss-up positions, right? There's a few that's like okay, who's your starting quarterback going to be, Zach, right? You get what I'm saying? So, anyways, we're going to try to see if we can get wired for success for our starting 22. Lane Kiffin's done a great job wiring the program for success. Is your house wired for success? If not, you might need to call our friends Dykes Electrical. That's 225-216-9180, Dykes Electrical. Whether you need lights on Tiger Stadium or just a humble TigerBait studio, Dykes Electrical is wired for success. Need a 10-story office building? They can wire that. 200 square foot warehouse you need built? They can wire that. Expanding your existing commercial building? They can wire that. Changing out a breaker, whole electrical panel, or just a receptacle in your home or office? They can wire that. Upgrading old lighting in your home or office? They can wire that. Give them a call today. That's Dykes Electrical at the number on your screen, 225-216-9180, for a free estimate on your project. Make sure to let them know TigerBait sent them in. That's Dykes Electrical, LLC. All TigerBait live shows are proudly brought to you this football season by Struby's Seafood and Steakhouse. Located at 107 3rd Street in downtown Baton Rouge, Struby's prides itself on providing a 5-star dining experience at a reasonable price. Struby's is locally owned with ownership in the building, taking daily levels of pride in their food and service you just don't see from any old corporate establishment. Struby's features a full menu of specialty meats, including USDA prime Black Angus steaks and 100% certified Wagyu New York strip. For those looking for something outside of red meat, they offer items such as the dry-aged pork chop, black truffle lobster pasta, redfish, and plenty more. Book your reservation online at strubys.com. Make sure to let them know TigerBait sent you in. And guys, if you're hype about what Lane Kiffin has been doing this season, you need to get over to our friends at Alumni Hall, where they have the Lane Train shirts. They've got the Bayou Bandit shirts for Blake Baker. They've got it all, guys. Nike champion Johnny O, on reserve Peter Millar, Southern Tide hats, Yetis gifts, accessories, new stuff coming in daily. Shop their store online at Perkins Row or online at alumnihall.com. Don't forget to use my discount code TigerBait. That's all one word, TigerBait, and you're going to save 10% off your order. Remember, they got free shipping on all orders, $99 and above, and they ship locally, so they're going to get there faster than those warehouse orders from God knows where. TigerBait fans, Bay's Oyster Bar, now open, 315 North Boulevard in downtown Baton Rouge. They're serving up the freshest farm-raised oysters from Grand Isle. No mud, no grit, just clean, delicious flavor. Not into oysters? Swap in boiled shrimp or try their turkey brie and bacon sandwich, or even a classic roast beef po' boy. They will also be featuring a bar fully stocked, complete with top-notch bourbon, whiskey, craft beer. Don't miss out on Baton Rouge's newest oyster spot, and make sure to let them know that TigerBait sent you in. All righty. Let's get to a couple of comments. I think we squeeze in a few. Big Train Kiffin, Sankey screwed up with the SEC schedule. I would not have gone to 9 conference games until the college football playoff went to 16. That's a good point. I really hope we never get 16 college football playoff. But we probably are, right? It's probably inevitable. I tend to agree. Until they show that they're willing to give you grace for an extra loss. And again, when I say grace, I don't mean you lost 2 big football games and then you went on the road and lost to Kentucky. No, or you dropped one to Louisiana Tech or some bad football. I'm talking if you lose 3 good football, I'm talking top 25 teams, right? Then okay, give that team a little bit of grace. I can't get that picture of the Pops. Wait. I can't get that picture of his Pops picture with the water cooler at Notre Dame. I don't know who he's talking about. Let's see here. Guys, is a 10-2 record obtainable for this upcoming season? Zach, I'll let you take that one first. That's a good comment from Tiger Mark.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, we talked about it last week where we kind of went over our way too early projections for this team from a potential perspective. And yeah, I think 10-2 is obtainable. There are 4 games on the schedule that Preston and I kind of talked about where it's kind of a toss-up about what could happen here. But I look at the games that they have at home, and I think Texas, et cetera, are 2 to 3 games that could really be toss-ups for me.
Yeah.
So I think 10-2 is obtainable for sure. That's right now where I kind of sit with this team. We'll see more during spring camp and fall camp, et cetera.
Right.
We got a while until this thing kicks off, but way too early projection from me would certainly be hovering around that 10-2 mark. Absolutely.
Can I tell you the only reason I kind of feel like I want to stay away from 10-2 is because I've been 10-2 so frequently.
That's fair.
And it's always wrong. It's always 10-2 is just such a rare outcome. In fact, it's like 12-0 is more common than 10-2 for me at this point. But all that to say, yeah, that's very reasonable. In fact, my working assumption right now is this is a team that can beat anybody in the country. Right. However, will they? That's a tougher discussion. I think unless something drastically changes, which, as we saw last year, Nussmeier's health.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we weren't at this point last year. We also weren't predicting that Michael Van Buren would be as bad as he was. We didn't predict that Colin Hurley would quit the team in the middle of this season. Right. Nothing was showing us that offense was going to be as putridly awful as it was last year. The working assumption was they were going to work their way. The offensive line was going to figure things out and they were going to take a small step forward. Well, no, we were very, very, they took many steps backward. And that hurt us a lot. So barring something unpredictable, yes, I would argue 10-2 is on the table. I would argue my guess right now is the 9-3 is the floor. Yes, there's 4 losable games, but I don't think they go 0-4 against those losable games. And then there's also some tricky games on the schedule, right? But anyways, he also asked, do y'all think Levitt missing spring practice and Longstreet getting first team reps, could he be day 1 starter? And what do you think Lane would do? Could you do with him what Lane did at Ole Miss? My working presumption is that Sam Levitt will be your day 1 starter. I don't think Husan Longstreet or Landon Clark are going to have a real chance to take that over. And basically Sam Levitt's going to have to play his way out of a starting where they've invested so much money, right? I mean, there's no amount of you played well during spring. And by the way, I expect them both to play well during spring, right? But there's no way Levitt doesn't get that first snap, right?
I mean, I'm right there with you. I think Levitt's your go-to guy. And I hate to say it's because of money, but it's an absolute fact.
It is because of money.
You went in there and you paid him X amount of dollars. This is your day 1 starter. Levitt's the guy that they poured a ton of resources into. Obviously, Lane Kiffin hopped on a freaking flight and went to Knoxville to go chase him down. So this is a guy that he wanted all along. This is a guy that you put a ton of resources into. He's your day 1 starter. But you got Longstreet and Landon Clark in your back pocket. It's one of the best quarterback rooms in the SEC, if not in America. So a really talented unit here. Longstreet's going to be a really talented player moving forward. But Levitt's your guy right now, and there's no doubt about it that he'll be your day 1 starter, barring any crazy setbacks.
Right.
He's your go-to guy for sure.
Right. Now, I think Husan Longstreet's a great turnaround. Here's the thing about Longstreet and comparing him to Shameless. Shameless was out of nowhere. He was a Division II player, and they made him he just went out there and balled out. It was unexpected.
Yeah.
That would be more like Landon Clark going out there and taking over. Husan Longstreet, I think if he went out there, like there was a strong argument. A lot of people, when it looked like LSU wasn't getting Levitt, were like, all right, go get Husan Longstreet. And that's a pretty good starter, right? Like that's a 5-star kid stepping in, and a guy who played he completed 12 of his 15 passes with 3 touchdowns at USC, sat behind Mavia, who was a very good player. Yeah, you'd feel great about that. So yes, I think LSU's got a great quarterback room. I feel so good about it. If top to bottom, I feel just really good about this quarterback room. And the thing is about having so many guys you feel good about. We saw last year, Garrett Nussmeier got his injury preseason, wasn't the same player all year long, and you just didn't have a guy to turn to, right? And that's part of where the season got derailed. I would say there's a good argument that if Nussmeier stays healthy, that team might be in conversation for the playoffs last year.
I'd agree with that. I mean, it's unfortunate with Nuss. I mean, there's this, that, and the other that people want to talk about for him. But at the end of the day, it was a brutal season for him. He didn't really have any insurance policies to fall back on. And that's why you bring in a guy like Lane Kiffin, who can go out and dominate from a quarterback room perspective. He's a guru with signal callers. And you got 2 of the best players in the portal now on your roster. And then throw in Landon Clark, who you and I are obviously really high on too.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun watching him in spring camp. Longstreet and Landon Clark, those are 2 guys that I'm going to be having a really close eye on. But once fall camp rolls around, it's the Levitt show.
But Zach,
really carry things
that's
down.
not to say it wasn't Brian Kelly or Joe Sloan's fault last year, because build depth, man. This is LSU. You should never have one guy who's ready to give you SEC quality snaps.
Agreed. And then here, Zach, of all the receivers that were brought in, high school and transfers, who do you think is capable of being the guy in the wide receiver room? We're going to talk about the wide receivers in a little bit too, but man, I'll tell you what, I love Jace Brown. This is the top 100 transfer. He's your second highest rated wide receiver in this class, behind Eugene Trey Wilson. So I love what Jace Brown can bring to this team. Take the top off the defense, explosive, get it to him in quick screen plays and watch him turn it upfield. He's a kind of a do-it-all guy. So Jace Brown's one I'm keeping tabs on. But Trey Brown is one that I don't think enough people are talking about, the Old Dominion wide receiver. He's hovering around 6'2", 180-ish. So Preston and I were talking about strength and conditioning a little bit earlier. Put some pounds on him to get ready for SEC play. I think Trey Brown has the chance to be a really special player. Lane Kiffin went out and got a lot of guys over 6 feet, 6'1", and I feel like we haven't really seen that much of that in the LSU wide receiver room as of late. We've seen a lot of gadget guys a little bit smaller that can turn it upfield and use their speed. But Lane Kiffin went and got a bunch of physical wideouts. Love me some Trey Brown. Love me some Jace Brown. I think those 2 guys are going to be really talented in this offense moving forward. Lane Kiffin loves to spread the ball around, so I think a lot of guys are going to eat. But if there's one guy that I think could be the guy right now before spring camp, so obviously it's early, don't clip this, but Jace Brown is the guy that I'm really circling back on, who I think could be a really special player in 2026. He's already produced, man. He's already done a lot of
Let's use this to catapult ourselves into our projected starting depth chart. Wide receiver, my starting 3, Jace Brown, Eugene Trey Wilson, and Winnie Watkins would be my first 3. And since you gave a guy to watch out for, I'll give a guy. How about Jackson Harris out of Hawaii?
Okay, so that was my discrepancy. So that's perfect that you said that. So with my starters, I have 2 that you had, but I took out Winnie Watkins, and I have Jackson Harris as my third starter. So we're on the same page there. I like it.
All right, so Winnie Watkins, I think, has an upper hand over Jackson Harris simply because familiarity, right?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
These coaches recruited him. He played a lot for Ole Miss last year. And I think he was like either 3rd or 4th receiver for them last year, right? But certainly a contributing player as a freshman. I think that's a really good 3. Jackson Harris is my 4th I'm watching there. But again, there's chaos. I mean, you want to talk about guys they're bringing in. I mean, first off, Jabari Mack as a freshman, that's a guy to watch out for out of Destrehan. But then just looking at these portal receivers, Malik Elzy out of Illinois. I mean, you got, Tyree Holloway, West Florida receiver, who, again, one thing they've done with this receiver class, they scouted out guys who had 14 yards or more per catch. They want deep ball threats. So it's just one of those things. We'll have to see how they look when they get out there. Mason Dossett out of Baylor. That's an interesting one to watch, right? So
I think he's gonna play defensive back.
Oh, well, he was an athlete, right? So they've recruited him at both, is what my understanding is like he's played receiver and DB, but I don't know until they actually line them up there, and
Right.
we'll see. But anyways, there's lots of talented players. We're talking about they brought in, was it 14 receivers they brought in? Is that right? Or was 13?
They brought in double digit. I think it's 12. I think it's 9
12
from the portal,
okay.
and then 3 from the high school ranks. And
Okay.
we didn't even talk about Roman Mothershed, who is coming from Troy, and his numbers don't jump off the page. And Preston, that's what a lot of these guys right now that we're talking about, like Malik Elzy, et cetera, the numbers might not jump off the page right now, but Lane Kiffin and his staff are so good at the evaluation process and developing these players. Roman Mothershed is a guy that I don't think anybody's mentioned at all, which is fair game, considering he has not done that much.
Can't mention all of them, but we're coming close.
But I'll tell you what, man, this guy is tall, 6'3", 6'4", big-bodied guy, put on some more muscle. You talk about a deep threat that Sam Levitt could really utilize in 2026. Roman Mothershed is a guy that when he committed, I'll be so honest with you, Preston, I'd never heard of him in my life. I don't think anybody heard of him ever. And I'm going to say this now. I'm hoping that he's a guy that we're talking about come spring camp when we pop in here and put in a couple of shows on TigerBait. I'm hoping that we're talking about Roman Mothershed a little bit as a guy that can be utilized because, my goodness, he is a big-bodied wideout who I think Lane Kiffin could really, really utilize in this system.
A lot of good players there. I think I do feel good about Trey Wilson, Jace Brown, as you're going to be 1 and 2. Number 3, obviously he thinks Jackson Harris. I think Winnie Watkins. We'll see. Quarterback, Sam Levitt, Husan Longstreet, Landon Clark, in that order, right?
Yeah, no debate for me there. I think that's
the only interesting nugget I'll throw out there is this coaching staff. They are keeping Emil Picarella, and they're very high on Emil Picarella. This coaching staff recruited Emil Picarella out of U High to Ole Miss, and he ended up walking on at LSU. So they feel very good about this quarterback room. Running back Harlem Berry is who I have number 1. Do you maybe have any?
No disagreements there.
Yep.
I think it's pretty safe to say that the 1-2 punch of him and Caden Durham. Throw in Dylan Jones coming from Wisconsin. It's a pretty nice 3-headed monster in the backfield. I think Dylan Jones could be a guy that we're talking about throughout fall camp as a dude. So
all right, hold up.
Solid 3-man team.
Who's your short yardage back?
Third down guy. Really excited to watch how he operates.
Okay, so you're saying Dylan Jones, your short yardage back.
Yeah,
yeah, that's what I was going to get at. Now, nothing statistically pops out as he should be. I believe he had like 3.9 yards per carry, which is not spectacular. I believe he had 1 touchdown this year, right? I think he had something like 79 carries for 330 yards. I'm going off the top of my head, people, with 1 touchdown, okay? But then you watch the film. This is a violent runner. And he comes from Wisconsin, where it's kind of sad, seeing what has gone down with their offense, but they have a reputation for developing physical runners. That's a guy I would probably say he's most likely your number 3 and probably a guy who gets that. But yes, I think Harlem Berry is going to get 75 to 80% of your carries from the running back spot this year. I don't think Kevin Smith is big on spelling running backs for situations. I do think that goal line back and that kind of stuff, they might need to do something because he's a slender, speedier back. But we will see. I think Harlem Berry's due for a really big year.
Let me ask you this real quick before we go to the next position group. Obviously, we saw this year Kawan Lacey take 90 to like 95% of their carries, and Lane Kiffin is notorious for kind of falling back on one guy to carry most of the work. We've seen in the past him kind of operate with 2 backs as well. Do you think going into 2026 he operates with, let's say, Harlem Berry and Caden Durham as the 2 go-to guys, or do you think he just really primarily uses Berry as the sole guy in that running back room?
Yeah, I think Berry's going to get like 75% of the carries, right? I think it's going to be a heavy dose. That being said, Caden Durham, I think he would be your next back you go to. I mean, Harlem Berry's going to tweak an ankle. He's going to get the wind knocked out of him. Like your starting running back takes hits, right? Yeah. Like he's going to need some time off. Caden Durham will be your true second string, and I think Dylan Jones will be the situational back. Hey man, this 3rd and 1, we got to get it, or this is at the goal line. We got to punch something in here, right? I think that's how that's going to go down. By the way, there are opportunities to use guys like Harlem Berry and Caden Durham in short yardage that I think Lane Kiffin's going to use, such as getting to the edge, right? Everybody thinks short yardage going straight forward, which is true. You do need to be able to just run someone over right in front of you. But you can do outside game stuff on short yardage, and I think Lane Kiffin does a bit more of that in his offense. So maybe those situations are less situational personnel, if I had to guess, 75% of the carries are going to go to Harlan Berry. Was that 15% will go to Durham, and what does that leave me with? 10% left, right? 10% will go to the other rest of the team. That's my guess. It's my guess. Now, obviously, injuries or something like that would change that a bunch, and injuries haven't been great for that position group here as of recent, but is what it is. All right, tight end, trade has green, right?
Move on to the next.
Move on. There's your guy. All right.
We're good there, man.
The only thing I will say here is there is a possibility in this world Trades Green is lining up wide and they have to use another tight end, because in certain formations, I'm not talking about like every down, I just think they're going to have formations where Trades Green is lined up wide to do the mismatch stuff, and they're going to need a tight end in the formation still. We'll see. Tight end 2 would be
Malachi Thomas for me, coming in from Pitt. I think that's your go-to guy there. I like J.D. LaFleur as a player. I think he's a dude, obviously a legacy who stuck around here. But I think Malachi Thomas is a guy who served as a really nice role with Pitt and was expected to come in 2026 to take on a pretty solid role there again. But LSU ultimately got him once he entered his name in the portal. I think that's going to be your tight end 2, who could really serve as a nice blocking guy in goal.
I like Zach Grace too. I'm going to throw Zach Grace out there.
Man, he's a Swiss Army knife, dude. That dude can do a lot. He can do a lot. He's fun.
Yep. But anyways, we'll move on to where it really gets messy here. This is where it gets messy. All right. Left tackle will be...
Yeah, it's Jordan Seaton.
Yeah, Jordan Seaton. It's not even a question. This is the easy one. First round draft pick, plug and play guy. Never going to have to worry about your blind side and passing. Maybe develop him a little bit of run, but let's not get froggy here, guys. He's your starting left tackle. All right, now here's where it gets really froggy. All right, let's get the one position that isn't froggy out of the way. Then we'll get to the froggy ones. Center.
Yeah, put Braylon Moore in there. Plug that in. Seaton and Braylon Moore. Those are the two guys that are easy to get off the top of the head. And then it gets a little bit unique. I mean, if you want to go to right tackle really quickly and try to knock that one out, do you think
No, I want that one to be the drama. Okay. Left guard. Give me left guard.
Yeah, I really think Devin Harper is going to come in and push some guys for some reps here. I'm really high on him. The coaching staff's really high on him. And remember what you were saying earlier about Winnie Watkins, familiarity. I think obviously Eric Walford is a new position.
I was going to say that. Yeah, because he's not from Ole Miss.
In the scheme with Kiffin and, of course, Charlie Weiss from a position coach perspective as well. Kevin Smith, George McDonald. I mean, there's a ton of familiarity with this coaching staff. So when I look at the left guard spot, I give the upper hand to Devin Harper right now because of that exact reason. That's familiar with what this scheme's all about.
I'm going Alio Ba.
I got him at my right spot. So we're right there.
All right. So there's your right guard. But anyways, Alio Ba, and I'm going with him at left because dude's nasty. I've been watching some film. He actually had some really good snaps against Indiana.
And those guys, the staffers are very juiced about what he can provide this team. Whether we put him at left guard, right guard, Preston, we're on the same page here. This is a starter come day one.
Yeah.
I love what Bach can give this team.
Love that. And I like putting your best guy. I think he's going to be your best interior guy or best guard. I like putting your best 2 on the left side there, right? All right, right guard. You're going Alio Ba.
Yeah.
I'm going to go interesting here, but not too crazy. I'm going with the experience over Devin Harper. And I think, and Devin Harper's good. Also, Solomon Thomas is another one to watch, although it seems like that's been weirdly quiet. Okay.
Yeah, it has.
But I'm going to go Sean Tompkins out of Baylor here because he did start 6 games. I think he's going to be more seasoned, ready to go. Devin Harper probably is the chalk, but I mean, he hasn't actually played for Ole Miss yet. Right. I understand. And it is a new offensive line coach. So I don't know that he's necessarily going to get the plug and play. I'm going with the experience over him. And not to mention, Sean Tompkins is very highly rated interior offensive lineman.
I don't think it's a bad play at all.
Out of the portal. All right. Now, here's the one that people are going to probably feel very emotional about. At right tackle, and I'll do mine first since you've been taking the brunt of revealing first this whole time. I've got Weston Davis returning. I think that, there was some talk of him going to the portal. I think the staff wanted to retain him. They obviously saw something they liked. He was a guy who actually got some 5-star ratings out of high school. Now, he was abhorrent this year at right tackle, showed some progress down the end. I think a lot of scheme is going to fix a lot of his issues. Hopefully a year of weight room will fix a lot of his issues, but I'm going with him as your day one starter. Now, there's some talk. I mentioned earlier in the show about possibly getting Froggy. I thought about Lamar Brown, but that would be bold. First off, true freshman starting at offensive lineman, rare, highly rare. Doesn't matter how famished that unit is, very rare to see that. So I'm going Weston Davis. Who are you going at right tackle?
I'm going Weston Davis too. And I know we could be kind of cute here and pull something out of our behind.
Right. We could be.
But I'll tell you what, Weston Davis was atrocious through the first 8 games of the year, first 8-9 games. But you look at the numbers, PFF, we only use it when it obviously fits our agenda, and it fits my agenda here. Down the stretch, he was really good. One of the best O-linemen in the country, not just the SEC. So Weston Davis, for me, is a guy that I would expect to be your day one starter at right tackle. I'm intrigued to see how he develops with his coaching staff because he did not have it under Brad Davis and company. Weston Davis, I'm going to give him the upper hand right now and see what he can do there. There could be a lot of movement there. You never know. They could put Devin Harper out there and slide him to the right tackle spot. I know I have him as my left guard right now. Right. He's versatile. That's what a lot of these coaches love with these guys. So right now, upper hand's going to Weston Davis for sure.
I mean, look at William Satterwhite. That's why they brought him in for Tennessee. Very versatile. Okay, we're gonna go into defense in just a second. I think defense is a little more straightforward, but there's also a lot of stacked second stringers on this defense that I can't wait to discuss. Guys, one thing we try to do with all of our TigerBait sponsorships is bring in locally owned businesses we've experienced firsthand, and we know we can trust to endorse and provide an outstanding experience to our listeners. Guys, Capital City Grill fits that role so perfectly. They're located at 100 Lafayette Street in downtown Baton Rouge. Capital City Grill is your ideal lunch and dinner stop for a casual dining experience. Capital City Grill features a variety of sandwiches, burgers, seafood, pastas, and steaks with almost everything priced at $30 or below for an affordable downtown experience. Don't forget to celebrate a Tigers win at their Sunday morning brunch, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Book your reservation online, capitalcitygrill.net. Make sure to let them know TigerBait sent you in. That is Capital City Grill, downtown Baton Rouge. Guys, check out these great rates from our friends at Genesis of Lafayette. Genesis of Lafayette is the premier luxury dealership in South Louisiana, offering the finest cars and SUVs in the region, coupled with the best service anywhere. Genesis of Lafayette has a huge inventory of new and certified pre-owned Genesis vehicles for a truly first-class automotive experience. It's Genesis of Lafayette on 6600 Johnston Street. Here to exceed your expectations. Genesis of Lafayette. Shop us online at genesisoflafayette.com or call them 877-856-2961. Let them know TigerBait sent you in. Change the way you feel at Rejuvame by creating a customizable treatment plan based on your goals. Rejuvame can lead you to success. Visit rejuvamemedical.com for more.
I decided to go to Rejuvame Medical because I saw my energy going down, my weight going up, and my sex drive just wasn't what it used to be. I saw my energy level go up almost immediately. My weight loss, it took about a month and a half. I feel the best I've felt in a long time.
All right, get to a couple comments here. Can Solomon Thomas play right tackle? Probably. They've recruited him as an interior guy, but like Zack and I were just saying a second ago, it's been eerily quiet from Solomon Thomas. Like, there was no talk about him leaving. There was no talk about, him taking a starting role. We'll just have to, I think it's one of those things where coaching staff, he wanted to stay around and they're taking a wait and see approach. They're just going to get him out in pads and they're going to go see. There's not really any film or tape or anything from the collegiate level to discuss on Solomon Thomas. I mean, he came into fall camp, hurt his foot, never heard of him again. So he's absolutely he's a black horse of this offensive line. He's a guy to watch. Ole Miss people were saying Devin Harper was going to be the right tackle. Again, also possible, particularly with my lineup, I was saying. Devin Harper could slide in there very easily. All right, let's get to our defensive linemen here. All right, defensive tackle, you get 2. Okay, obviously they're going to use more than 2 situationally, but who are your 2 starters right now, Zach?
Yeah, let me be clear here before I even start this. This group is deep as hell, and I'll use my one non-PG term right there, Preston.
I love it.
I'll tell you what, this unit is ridiculous, and you could talk about the true freshmen day and night. They're incredible. But when we talk about starters day one right now, I'm rocking with Don McKinley and Steph Green. Steph Green being the Clemson transfer. I think that he's a really talented player and could thrive in Blake Baker's system. Malik Blockton from Auburn is another one that a lot of people are high on as well. But right now, I give Don McKinley the edge. We like to talk about familiarity. They're still high on him. They think that he could break out. I know we said that last year. But Don McKinley is one that I expect to be a starter. And right next to him is Steph Green. I'd love to be cute here and throw in a true freshman like Richard Anderson or Lamar Brown or even Deuce Gerald, who is just an absolute beast. But right now, I think when you're in win now mode, come day one, you're going to have to go with some experienced pieces. And that's why I'm going to roll right now with Don McKinley and Steph Green. But this room's deep, and you're going to really rotate guys in and out kind of almost every other snap, I'd be honest with you.
It is deep and talented. Day one, I'm going to go with Steph Green and Don McKinley, right?
Yeah.
Most experienced guys, guys who've shown talent. We are waiting on that breakout year from Don McKinley, but a lot of times guys who are 5-star, all-world, everything's rated out of high school, they're just good. Just good, and sometimes just good feels so underwhelming. But the other thing to understand about this defensive tackle position is most defensive tackles are not 70 tackle guys, right?
Exactly.
They're usually 20 to 30 tackle guys, but they're playing very well because they're eating up blocks. They're demanding double teams, that kind of stuff. So maybe we don't see explosive years out of this position group, but we see just stable, good football opening things up for your linebackers and edge rushers, right? Keep an eye out. There's a talented high school group coming in here. Lamar Brown, Richard Anderson, Deuce Gerald. I think they all need in different ways to physically develop, right? I think Lamar Brown could probably polish up on his defensive line technique. I think Richard Anderson needs to trim down some of that baby fat and maybe work on his pad level because he's been just so much bigger and dominant than everybody he's played. Maybe, I think that's an adjustment for this position. And Deuce Gerald, I think, needs to bulk up a little bit. We're talking about a guy who's played like running back in college a bunch, in high school a bunch. But boy, I'd be shocked if one of those 3 doesn't find their way on the field as a contributor this year.
I agree with that. I think you got some really talented youngsters, man.
Sean Washington, Brandon Brown, there is depth as well. Achilles Woods out of South Alabama. You talked about Blockton. They did a really good job. I mean, a really good job fortifying this unit. New defensive line coaches inheriting a really good. That's Lindsey Sterling inheriting a really good unit there. All right, edge rusher. There's probably a few different guys you could go with here. Who are you going with here?
Yeah, obviously, Prince Umanmielen is number one, and it's not even a question. But next to him is where it gets really fun because we sit back here. Earlier, we were talking about Jordan Ross coming in. Didn't necessarily pan out at Tennessee after signing with them as the number 1 edge in the 2024 recruiting class. For right now, I give the edge to Gabe Relaford. Again, the word that I'm going to throw again is familiarity. So for me, it's Prince Umanmielen alongside Gabe Relaford, who really could have the chance to shine this season if Umanmielen is demanding as many double teams as we'd expect. So those are the 2 that I'm rolling with right now, but this is going to be a lot of like what you saw in 2025, Preston. A lot of rotational pieces moving.
Oh, yeah.
Like Jordan Ross.
Well, that's what I was literally about to ask is it one of those things where your 2 guys are on the field or you think
No doubt. You'll see a ton of 3-man rotations there in my opinion. Obviously, we'll see a ton more during spring camp, but those are the 3 guys that I'm watching a ton. I'd love to see Trenton Henderson put on a little bit more weight and then see where he can progress from there. But for right now, those are the 3 that I really am going to see take a ton of reps, and it's going to primarily start with Umanmielen and Gabe Relaford.
Yeah, I am going to go with Prince and Relaford. I think Relaford played very well. It was a stacked defensive end unit last year, and he found a way to start over Patrick Payton and Josh Pyburn and all those guys, right? I mean, he was good. Now, of course, that's contingent on him recovering from his injury, but I believe he will do so, and I think those are your starters, and I'm right there with you on. I mean, Kalash Cobbins is a guy to watch. I mean, Shanklin coming off his freshman year, That should be interesting to see if he's ready to live up to his recruiting billing. Dylan Carpenter, is he in the? And by the way, Dylan Carpenter gave you some serviceable reps at the end of last year, but is he in that looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane category? He didn't look like it at the end of last year, but is he good enough to compete with this stacked room? That's a great question. So, anyways, yes, defensive line. I feel very good about them. I can't wait to see what they look like in pads, because remember a year ago, when we showed up the spring practice, we were on the balcony and we're like, dude, is it just me or is this defense, this edge room nasty looking out there? Because, like, you could tell the physicality, like, it was nasty looking, and they were very good last year. Moving on to linebacker. All right, I'll take this one because they're one of the wit weeks. That's not going to be controversial at all to say that he's your starting linebacker. The other one is where it gets a little controversial. We are going to go two. We're going to say it's, basically they're going to go with star position instead of a third linebacker, but there will be times where they're playing three linebackers. The other one, I am going to go with TJ Daugherty, the SEC's leading returning tackler. Obviously some familiarity with Chris Kiffin coming over. I think that matters a lot. But there's a lot of other guys. Davin Keys is probably very controversial. Probably a lot of people in the building think that he did enough to lock down a starting spot this year as well. I believe he was the second leading tackler, or maybe second leading returning tackler in the SEC. Are you going Keys or are you going Daugherty here?
Yeah, no, it's Whit Weeks and TJ Daugherty for me. I think there's a ton of respect for what Daugherty provides. I mean, this is a guy who wore the green dot on his helmet for Ole Miss last year. I mean, he was the quarterback of their defense, and this isn't a guy who's coming to LSU to take a back seat. So my initial thoughts would be Whit Weeks and TJ Daugherty be your go-to guys. Devon Keys is, of course, going to get a ton of reps there too. I want to see him get a little bit more fundamentally sound, put a little bit more speed on that body, get a little bit quicker so he can kind of work in coverage as well. But for me right now, I think that's a really strong three-man rotation of Daugherty, Weeks, and, of course, Devon Keys. Devon Keys is a really fundamentally sound player, but I want to see a little bit more from him moving forward. And then the youngsters it's got too, man. The depth pieces, Tylen Singleton, Charles Ross, Jaden Breaker. Those are just a couple of guys. Throw in Zach Weeks. Your youngsters are super talented there, but those three are going to carry the kind of front load of that work. So you have a talented second level of defense. But I'll tell you what, those youngsters I'm really excited about. I think Charles Ross is a speedster, a true gamer, and Jaden Breaker, him coming back and withdrawing from the portal, he's a really talented player too.
All of these young guys have shown promise, maybe except for Jaden Breaker, who's just been a little too young and a little too buried. I love what I've seen out of Keelan Moses. Zach Weeks was out on the field doing good stuff.
So good.
Well, he was really good for a true freshman. Tylen Singleton has looked good in practice. CJ Ross is the guy a lot of people aren't talking about. Charles Ross. This is a guy who runs in the 4.3s with his 40. Very fast player. I'm interested to see where he goes, or maybe they even look at him at some star.
That's my guess.
Just some thoughts there, but currently he is listed at linebacker. All right. So at linebacker, we went with TJ Daugherty. At corner, we got TJ. Now we're going PJ and DJ. Okay. PJ Woodland, DJ Pickett. I think that's the best 1-2 punch at corner in the SEC.
Whoa. In the SEC?
Yeah, I'm going with it. Yep.
Damn. That's high praise. I love it.
Yeah.
I think PJ Woodland has a chance to really explode this year, Preston. I think he's a really talented player. And DJ Pickett, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and talk for days about DJ Pickett.
I think DJ Pickett's going to blow up, man.
Yeah,
I think he's going to have a very good season, and I think PJ Woodland is he's shown some really good promise.
Now, let me ask you this, though. Like, we know that PJ Woodland, PJ and DJ, we'll just call him PJ and DJ. We know that
DJ.
They're going to be talented as hell this year. DJ Pickett, the chance to be an all-conference player, of course. We know that. And then Jakeem Jackson will likely be your cornerback 3, likely, right there.
That's. And by the way, the next thing I was going to go is nickel. So nickel.
Where
I'm
do you
going
go
Jakeem
from there, though? Do you think that Haven Finney is going to be your CB4?
It's a true freshman. That'd be very. It'd be unprecedented.
You're thin there. Like, let me read you off the guys that I have on scholarship right there at cornerback. It's, of course, DJ and PJ, Jakeem Jackson, Michael Turner, Aiden Anding.
Right.
And then you go to Haven Finney and Dez Ellis, who was an under-recruited guy, got the late offer, flipped, made his way to LSU. So you're a pretty like kind of
Imari Preston too, by the way, who was a late flip from West Virginia. It's kind of a thinner group. In fact, I remember us talking about earlier on. It's like, is it a need or a want?
Yeah.
I think you've got 3 good corners, and then you might even be talking about sliding a safety over at 4 if you need a 4th corner. I don't really know. We'll have to see. Michael Turner is a very, very, very fast player. We haven't gotten a lot to see it. We don't have necessarily guys who've already shown us promise, but you know what? Haven Finney, very highly recruited corner, guy they were able to retain. That was a big signee. I mean, ultimately, if a true freshman, a talented true freshman is your CB4, that's not the end of the world. You know, we have seen that before at LSU where your 4th corner is a true freshman. That's not like, you know, you're putting a true freshman out there and he's your starting corner. Like in 2012, when your starting corners were Jalen Collins as a redshirt freshman, and Jalen, who's the guy who got drafted by Philly? The other Jalen, right? That was an issue, right? This is not the same issue. This is they're going much more deep before they're looking to that. All right, so we've got TJ, PJ, DJ. Does CJ, Jim Coyley, get to be your starting star?
That's where it gets fun for me. I think the star role is going to be crazy moving into fall camp or spring camp and then into fall camp rather. I like Ty Benefield. I think Ty Benefield coming in from Boise State is an absolute demon. This is a 100-plus tackler. This guy produced. Of course, we can sit back and talk about the G5, G6, however much we want to talk about it, but this dude produced with that team. And I think Ty Benefield and Deshaun Spears are both going to be competing for that star role. And whichever one doesn't necessarily get it will probably be your other starting safety. We'll get to that in a minute, though. But if right now, way too early, I say Ty Benefield will be your star. I love seeing him get a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage. He can obviously cover well, tackle well, fundamentally sound. I personally wrote about Ty Benefield last night and said that he is going to be your X factor on defense. Again, way too early. But I really, when I talk about my favorite signees in the portal class, other than offensive players, it's Ty Benefield.
Outside of your big 3 that you brought in, you brought in 3 of the top 5 players in the portal, which is just madness. Ty Benefield's the next one where I'm like, watch the film. This guy is busting ass. He is getting down on. I mean, he plays a lot like Jamal Adams, and I think, could you imagine Jamal Adams at the star position? My God.
Yeah, I mean, just a heavy hitter. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Oh, absolutely. And a guy who's low on the shoulder, taking on blocks, real good play. Yeah, I think Ty Benefield's plug and play. I think CJ Jim Coyley will be your backup star. And I think CJ Jim Coyley plays and has an impact this year because they raved about him last year. And he looked good in fall camp too. I think there were some coverage situations they were looking on him to improve his technique on. But ultimately, I think he will be good enough for your backup. But it would have been cool to have TJ, PJ, DJ, and CJ out there, but not right now. And by the way, we were talking about tongue twisters with the wide receivers room. Boy, what a tongue twister we would have with your backs there. All right, now starting free and starting strong. I don't know necessarily. I think probably Cooley and Spears are going to be your 2 starters back there. Do you have somebody else penciled in?
Nope. I mean, I'd love to see Fahim Delane come in and compete.
Sure.
But I think DeMarcus Cooley, and of course you throw in Deshaun Spears. Those are the 2 guys that I really like at the safety slots back there at the last level of defense. But like I said, if they want to put Spears, if they trust him at the star role, which, hey, maybe they do. Who knows? Maybe they do. Then you put Ty Benefield as your other safety. But those 3 guys are the ones that I'm looking at. Obviously, right now we'll sit here and say Spears and Cooley at safety, Benefield at star. But I'll tell you what, that is a really, really strong defense, man. I'm not going to say too much more because I don't want this to get clipped and people say you were wrong. But shoot, that's talent. You're
going to be wrong. Eventually, you're going to be wrong about something.
Yeah, everybody's wrong. But damn, man, that's talent.
The one thing that concerns me about this safety group, and we're going to throw Star in there as safety as well. I love your 3 starters. And I love your backup. I would assume Fahim Delane is going to be your backup at either safety spot. And CJ Jim Coyley might also be one of the backups back there and your backup star. Outside of that, you don't have a lot of guys with experience already. You got Jace Thomas. You've got Traylon James, a Southern transfer. You got Aiden Hall and Isaiah Washington, who by the way, both have showed a ton of promise, but neither one of them are like 5-star guys. Right.
Right.
But you're talking about not much experience. Not much has been shown on the high school level. That's going to be something I'm watching in fall camp, is seeing if one of those backup safeties outside of CJ, Jim Coyley, and Fahim Delane can show me something. Just show me some promise, like, oh, look, that guy picked off. That was a good pick. Something to tell me that if this guy gets thrown into the fire, he will adapt, grow, live, and be able to survive out there. Because I think that your defensive back depth, like your defensive line depth is just freaky. Your linebacker depth is freaky. Your defensive back depth is, you got good starters. I don't know if you have to go with a full second team. How you're really looking there. In fact, I would say even go into your fourth corner. Like if you have one corner hurt, I don't know who your nickelback is, right? Like it's like, that gets sketchy. I feel like you got 3 bodies ready to play at corner, and you got 5 bodies ready to play at 3 safety spots, right? So it's like, I wish you could have a full second team of players that have inspired confidence. I'm not there yet. With our safety. So anyways, that's what our starting 22 is looking like right now, guys.
Pretty similar, Preston. I mean, we're on the same page for just about everybody except for your O-lineman. I mean, we're on the same spot.
O-lineman. Did we have anybody on defense different?
Not really. No. I mean, Star, where I had Benefield and whatnot, but
no, I had Benefield. And
they're
my starting defensive guys. I have Dominic McKinley, Stephylan Green, Princewell Minuara, Gabriel Relaford, Whit Weeks, TJ Daughtery, PJ Woodland, DJ Pickett, Jakeem Jackson at nickel, Ty Benefield star, Tamarcus Cooley safety, Deshaun Spears safety. That's what you have, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right, well, then there we go. We had the same defense. So, again, like you were saying, it's pretty straightforward. It is straightforward. We're going to get one of these 22 wrong. Make no mistake, particularly offensive line. I would almost predict that something we've done on offensive line is going to be wrong. But, guys, I appreciate y'all for watching, and I appreciate y'all for watching all season long. This has been a fun, eventful year on your LSU football fix. Again, this will be the final regularly scheduled live show of the year. It always makes me sad to hit this, but, it's tough to do a long off-season show talking about football, especially during slow weeks. And especially with having 2 young kids. Personally, I have a newborn at home, and that's part of why there was some thought to go full year round, but ultimately it's really difficult on my wife dealing with a newborn and a toddler in the house. And this just comes at a time like right during bedtime. It's really difficult for her. So that being said, we discussed it early in the show. This off season, I'm probably going to take a week or 2 off, and we're going to be doing some sort of regularly weekly abbreviated show, probably a shorter show. We'll figure out. I'm open to your feedback as to what I should do. If you want to leave a comment or if you want to tweet at me, whatever, cool. I'm open to feedback, but probably a short and abbreviated show with less sponsors, more meat and potatoes content. I will be talking about shows other than sports other than football. Be talking about news with LSU sports, and we'll be getting that regularly going. I'm excited to do some regularly scheduled off-season content. Of course, with the pickup of Lane Kiffin, it's just there's too much views. There's too much excitement. There's too much going on to just disappear for 6 months right now, which that hadn't been the case in previous years. So we'll be here. I appreciate y'all for watching your LSU football fix. Zach, tell everybody and give an extended plug here because, who knows, we'll have you on regularly, no doubt. But let the people know where they can keep up with all your content this off season.
Yeah, man. I think Preston and I always do a good job with this show. It's always fun talking some ball. And especially getting towards this back end right now, a lot of transfer portal buzz that we got going on. So it's always fun talking ball with Preston. I always got to say that when we wrap up the show each year. For me, at Nagy20 is where you can find the primary work for me. Just putting out some content on there regularly. And then at LSU Tigers SI, we're pumping out probably 8 to 10 pieces of content each day that you can find on there. A ton of transfer portal stuff, recruiting right now. They're about to have a big weekend on the recruiting front. And then going into spring camp, we got a lot rolling right there as well from a football perspective. But like Preston said, we're entering kind of a crossover season. You got some baseball going, basketball, men's and women's, gymnastics flowing right now as well. So A lot of stuff going on, man. Check out the site at LSU Tigers SI is where you can find a ton of the written work being put out there. At ZNagy20 is where I'm at. And then if you're not on socials, man, go to Google, punch in at LSU SI, LSU SI, LSU Tigers SI, anything with those kind of 5 letters of LSU SI. You'll find anything that you need purple and gold related. Check it out. Fun off season coming up. And then Preston and I got a lot coming next fall as well in this inaugural season for Lane Kiffin. So make sure to tune in to LSU SI and, of course, TigerBait, man.
Do not forget to hit that bell for all live shows. We're not going to inundate you. Just whenever we go live, we'll be here. I'll be around for spring ball, no doubt. I'll have my short abbreviated show. Mike and Buddy still going live Wednesday nights all year long where they talk all the sports. It's been a fun year, guys. I appreciate all of y'all for watching. We'll see y'all August 1st.